Okay, so my name is Hidefusa Iida from the University of Tokyo, and I'm happy to present this session. And this session is presenter is Professor Zenichi Shishido from the Musashino University, and he will take us on the Japanese listed companies, Japanese listed companies, family firms. So the floor is yours.
Three Japanese economists, Hokuto Dazai, Takuji Saito, and Noriyuki Yanagawa. Actually, Hokuto is our statistician, and our paper is owed to his sweat, and I am a user of his statistics. This is a statistical study of Japanese listed family farms from 1991 to 2010. That is the so-called lost 2 decades. Right? Okay. Yeah. Right. Japanese listed family farms are outliers in double meanings. First, many Japanese listed family farms keep family managers without substantial family ownership. It's outlier among listed family farms in the world. And secondly, heir managing farms have substantial manager ownership, even with small family ownership. It's outlier among listed family farms in Japan, ordinary listed family farms in Japan. How can I? It doesn't work. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Our statistical study shows heir managing farms perform better, actually slightly better, than non-family farms, but with statistically significant. Let me show you this. Oh. Just see this. Heir managing farms. This is benchmark is ordinary listed farms, non-family listed farms. The heir managing farms, you know, are, even though it's 1 star, are higher. Their ROA is higher than ordinary listed farms, and ROE is 3 stars, with 3 stars higher than ordinary listed farms. So ROA is about 0.2% higher. ROE is about 0.9% higher, even though top managers of heir managing farms, by definitions, are picked from small family family pools, right? Why? Because of adopted son-in-law system. That is the hypo by Melroter et al. 2013 paper. They say the existence of the adopted son-in-law system itself is a threat to real sons. So they play a role of hostile takeover equivalent. You know, it is a very strong hypo, almost impossible to be denied, right? They say it is threat. How can we say there is no threat, right? Impossible to argue against it. It is Very interesting story, but totally not plausible to 99% Japanese people. So we have been seeking alternative hypo for almost 10 years, actually. And let me, finally, we recognize important fact. There is a huge difference of management ownership between air managing farm and non-family farms. See this table. Probably that the median is most simply to show you the difference. The median of the air managing farms management ownership is 50 times higher than non-family farms median. And even management ownership of air managing farms with less than 5% family ownership is more than 20 times higher than that of non-family farms on median. And also, interestingly, the mean of the air managing farms ownership, around 4%, is interestingly almost same as average of US listed farms, ordinary listed farms, professional managers. There are very few studies on the effect of management ownership in family farms in the world. Although there are many empirical studies on the effect of family ownership on family farm performance, such as Villalonga and Amit 2007 paper. And also, there are substantial numbers of empirical studies on the effect of management ownership on farm performance in general. Mok, Schleifer, and Vishunitz, 1988 paper is the most famous one. So question is why? Why are the family farm scholars in the world did not try to show the effect of management ownership in family farms on their performance? You know, that is because it is hard to distinguish the effect of family ownership and that of manager ownership in high family ownership farms, which are overwhelming in the air managing farms outside of Japan. Let's see. Okay. Japanese air managing farms provide us of a unique sample. Both low family ownership farms and high family ownership farms are included in the sample. You know, this figure vividly shows you the characteristics of our sample. You know, the 82.7% of air managing farms have less than 20% ownership. 37% is less than 5% ownership. You know, again, there are very few air managing farms with low family ownership outside of Japan. Let me just back this. By using this Japanese sample, it is possible to measure the effect of management ownership almost independently in low family ownership farms. Otherwise, the effect of management ownership and that of family ownership inevitably contaminate. Right? We confirmed positive effect of management ownership on accounting performance, even in low family ownership farms. This table is the major results of a statistical study. And if on the effect of management ownership and family ownership on low family ownership farms, low family ownership farms performance by OLS regulations. Probably first look at this management means management ownership. Management ownership have the statistically significant positive effect on both ROA and ROE, except ROE in the less than 5% family ownerships. So the all not substantial family ownership, 20%, 10%, less than 10%, and less than 5%, right? And on the other hand, look at the effect of family ownership here. You know, under less than 20% family ownership shows no statistically significant effect on the farm performance. And interestingly, air managing farm variable, that means that the effect of air managing farm excluding effect of management ownership and family ownership. They showed us no positive effect. Rather, they have some negative effect, right? And also, even in non-family farms, as I already showed you, their management ownership is very low. Even in such a Japanese non-family farms, our study also shows a positive and significant effect of management ownership for ROA. So that means management ownership affect positively, both in family farms and in non-family farms. During our sample period of low growth era, last 2 decades, the 2 different corporate governance styles coexisted in Japan. One is listed family farms. Another is listed non-family farms, ordinary listed farms. From the perspective of shareholder monitoring of Japanese non-family listed farms had been gradually strengthened during that era by decreasing cross-shareholdings and increasing of foreign shareholder ownership. In 2000, at the year of 2000, the share of outside shareholders, such as institutional shareholders, finally overwhelmed the share of the inside shareholders, such as banks and the cross-shareholding partner companies. And, and also, at that year, the share of foreign shareholder turned to more than 30%. So the stock ownership structure has been totally, changed. And on the other hand, family farms, listed family farms, had kept substantive cross-shareholdings without foreign shareholders and without controlling shareholders. That means they kept weak shareholder monitoring, right? Then, from the perspective of management incentive, management ownership of Japanese non-family listed firms had been extremely low because of the company community norm. Here, let me explain a bit about the company community norm. I have been used the concept of the company community to explain the Japanese corporate governance for last quarter decades. And company community consists of the top management, all board members, that until 2000, almost 100% of board members are executive directors, insiders, all insiders. And all regular full-time workers, including freshmen, they share the identity of the company man. I am a Toyota man. I am a Hitachi man, so something like that. And, I'm not sure I have enough time to tell this one, but it's very important to non-Japanese audiences. In Japan, it is very rude to call the company in which the guy is working for without Mr. It's quite rude. You should call his company Mr. Hitachi, Mr. Toyota. In Japan, Hitachi-san, Toyota-san, or your honorable company. Now, when we call your honorable company, that means company community, not the company in the Anglo-American sense with shareholders, right? Shareholders totally outside of company community. And the company community norm is simply, it's a seniority and egalitarian system. Most presidents of Japanese non-family listed firms are salary men who have no experience of working at other companies. Japanese decent employees, business people, must get into or hired by the company or turn to be the member of the company community just after graduating the college at age of 22 or 23 without any gap or the empty period between your graduation and joining the company. And that means external manager market, not only external labor market, external manager market is very small in Japan. In Japan, this is our punchline. In Japan, only air managing firms can have Anglo-American style management. that means particularly their substantive equity incentive. The ordinary company, the salaryman CEO could not increase his salary or could not, increase the portion of equity compensation because, or they not could not, they hate to do that by themselves because they only care for the reputation among the company community member, not care for their reputation in external manager market because there is no external manager market. As long as they keep company community known, he can keep his position and good reputation as good CEOs. Okay, so the only family farms, the heir manager is, mostly by inheritance to afford to have the substantial equity portion, not by compensation, mostly by inheritance. And in addition, there are several foreign characteristics in comparison with salaryman managers. Heir managers have working experience in other company, although it's just for 2-3 years before joining his father's company, right? And their first promotion, they promote to directors at around 35 years old. Salaryman at early 50s. They becomes president at late 40s. Salaryman, 60 years old at the earliest. And their long tenure, 15.1 years on average for heir presidents, 5.7 years average for salaryman presidents. Don't worry, this is my last slide. There are two important factors of Anglo-American corporate governance model: shareholder monitoring and management incentive. Our study has an implication to corporate governance in general, not only for Japan, but also for many Asian countries. That is this: management incentive may make difference in firm performance, even without strong shareholder monitoring. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for a very insightful presentation, and stick to the 20 minutes time limitation. So now next, Professor Christopher Chen from the Taiwan University will comment his presentation.
Thanks, Professor Shishido, for the wonderful paper and presentation. I'm fully aware I'm probably the last or second to the last hurdle to launch. So I will make sure we finish on time and leaving some time for discussion. So, so I'm Christopher Chen from National Taiwan University College of Law. So first, let me start by saying that it's a very interesting paper. It's a very empirical paper, and you also cover a huge data set of covering more than 20 years with over 41,000 of the from year observations. It's an extremely large data set. I have done some empirical study by myself. I was done a 7-year data set. It almost killed me already. And 20 years is pretty much unimaginable. And this paper is also interesting in a way that it kind of changed the thing from actually the previous session. We move from a lot of corporate discussion in Asia, we center around SOE versus a private enterprise POE divide. I personally have done a couple of papers on that as well. But in Asia, indeed, not just in Japan, there's a phenomenon of having a family ownership. In Taiwan, I guess in China as well, Japan, Korea, Japan, a lot of family chapo, right? Even in Singapore, Hong Kong, I suppose there are a lot of family friends. I guess in South Asia, probably similar. So it will be very timely to look beyond just state-owned enterprise, and not just about private enterprise, but also specifically family business. And I do agree there are some unique characteristics in Japan. Some may be changing. I think there are some people talking about, such as cross shareholding, and the Toyota-san, the mindset, which is certainly nothing in Taiwan. I think in Taiwan probably we have gone past that a long time ago. But there are still some common features. So due to the interest time, I will keep my point short. I will mainly focus on definition issue and the owner structure and some empirical suggestions. So my comments are mainly offer some questions and something for thoughts. But I'm not Japanese, so you'll be curious. I think you build a very good platform in the future to see we can do some cross-country study on family business and corporate governance. So first, as a lawyer, I think usually when we encounter a problem, the first ever intuition response is how to define something. It's already difficult enough to define SOE, but it's already also challenging to define FOE, if a family-owned business. So as the paper made interesting observation. So I think the paper distinguishes firms into different categories. On the one hand, there's a founder firm, which I think if I'm not wrong, it means that the firm is still in the founder stage. The first generation is still there. I actually agree to exclude it from analysis, even though it's a part of the data. Because if it's just a first generation, we cannot even call it family, right? By definition, it sounds a bit weird. And I think the paper also make it clear, I think the so-called year managing firm doesn't cover the situation where the founder is still alive, even though literally it means the son is still managing, but the daddy is still there. Right? Because the old man, as usual in Asia, they are like what you see in Crazy Rich Asia, the grandma, grandpa, or father, mother usually is a king or queen, right? Even though they literally retire, right? So, but the focus is on a so-called year managing firm, and in addition, some non-year managing firm, but still technically a family business. So I just offer certain questions, observations. On the one hand, when we talk about year managing firms, my general question is, as usual, how do you define it? And most importantly, whether it make a difference if we had gone past second generation. So there's an old Chinese proverb. I think all the Chinese origin, all Chinese culture people knows. There's a 就是富不过三代, right? The wealth usually doesn't pass more than 3 generations. That's a Chinese proverb, and I think there are some common reason for that. Because on the one hand, by the third generation, usually they are spoiled anyway, right? Even though they may be very well educated, but usually they are spoiled. And secondly, by the third generation, assuming the family has a lot of son and daughter, however, the shareholding usually divided up. So by the time of third, even fourth generation, in some cases, each family owner doesn't own a lot, and they fight each other, right? It doesn't mean, even though they have shared the same surname, it doesn't mean they like each other. Quite often they hate each other. So my general question is, it's one thing to talk about second generation, right? In Taiwan, I see mostly still in second generation. Rarely we see more than 3. But how about 3 or more? And that's where Japan is interesting. Because of the history, there's a fair chance, I think, in Asia, Japan is probably one of the few places we can see a company, family company with more than 3 generations. In Taiwan, I think mostly still in founder, quite a few in second generation. The third generation either is still putting into a company, or only in rare situation you see the third generation. So I think Japan may actually offer some thoughts, some insights on this generation matter. And actually in the paper, the table 2 actually shows that the mean or median age from is around 54 years. I'm not sure whether 54 means 1991 or 2010 or anywhere in between, but 50 years can actually generate 2-3 generations, right? So I think that's one of my questions. Secondly, about non-management, linked to my next comment is whether the family ownership make a difference. So let me show a couple of charts. I intend to put another one, but I failed to put it in. But anyway, I mentioned that. This is from copy from the annual report of CKH Holdings, Chong Kong they merge into CKH Holding. And of course, the big boss is Mr. Likashin. Is probably still one of the, if not the richest person in Asia. And the company, the CEO now is Mr. Victor Lee, who is Likashin's elder son. His second son has some personal drama, so it's not in the succession line. Anyway, as you can see from the chart, it's copied from the annual report. Likashin himself doesn't actually own a lot. He owns very little. But what's curious is that his family control the firm through a lot of trust, right? Likashin's shareholding mainly comes through his deep interest through the trust he created. And I suppose the chart doesn't show the Victor Lee, the CEO's shareholding, but I suspect the family control the firm through the trust, which technically can last many decades, if not barred by the by the trust law, right? So this is Likashin. And this is from a Singapore company. The person I put on with the red line is Mr. Wee Yin Chong, who is currently the CEO of the UOB Bank, United Overseas Bank. It's probably big three in Singapore. And actually, Mr. Wee, the Wee Yin Chong, Mr. Wee Yin Chong, he is the third generation, according to Wikipedia. The UOB was founded by probably his grandfather, then Mr. the late Wee Cho Yo. Then you can see now there are a lot of Wees, right? But as you can see, this is a standard disclosure in Singapore. The direct holding, actually, they don't own a lot. Most of their shareholding come from the indirect interest, which usually come from this company, We Investment Holding. And this is a common strategy. The family control ownership, if not through a trust, but through a holding company, and sometimes quite a number of holding companies with multiple layers. So I don't intend to draw any empirical comparison, but what I'm saying, that question is, does this make a difference? And the link to Professor Shishido's comments that some of those family friends, the manager actually doesn't own a lot. I haven't put it into the slide, but I can raise a Taiwanese company, which is Cathay Financial Holding, which actually is I have to say is the biggest donor to NTU College of Law. Our building is donated by him. He's proudly our alumni. So surprisingly, a lot of rich family, they don't send their kids to study engineering. They want them to study law in MBA, because that's all the importance of corporate governance, because law is about governance. So, but luckily law school is a beneficiary. But anyway, put it this way, the chairman of the Cathay Group is Mr. Tsai. A lot of rich men are named Tsais. So I don't know why. But anyway, Mr. Tsai himself holds only 0.3%. But his family, through other family friends, control quite a number, maybe 20, 30% maybe. But he himself only owns less than 0.5%, very little shares. So that maybe there are some other Taiwanese stories. People own less than 1%, but literally can control the boat. They do some techniques. But that back to my question, how about family ownership structure? Does it make a difference in the short term, in the long term? And given that Professor Shishido data says 20 years, it may actually offer a real chance to observe the trend, which linked to my last few comments, more about empirical methods. First of all, drawing from Professor Shishido's presentation, one of the suggestions could be that to address potential shortcoming of corporate governance for family-owned business, however we define it, is that maybe we should keep the manager being a shareholder, he owns something. But the empirical question is, the table shown by Professor Shishido does show quite a number of stars. So statistically, we can say there's a correlation between management ownership and maybe higher ROA, ROE. But more normatively, the question then is, can we say it causes higher profitability, etc.? Because as a matter of law, in the end of the day, the normative question could be, if management ownership could have an effect, should the law force family business or companies, the manager to own shares of a company, which is in some countries there's such a law, right? If the Professor Shishido, they may support those laws, but in countries without such laws, maybe that's something regulator can think about. But your internal effect, can we show the causation, which is one of the most difficult things to do for Christopher. Two quick points. First, in this paper, Professor Shishido's regression model all control the years. They try to detrend. But there's one thing I'm interested to look at is whether because it covered 20 years, whether the first and second lost decades make a difference? Since it passed 20, from 1991 to 2010, does it make a difference in terms? Maybe it was to advise you to not to detrend, but just see whether the year or time make a difference. That would be quite interesting. The very last point is a very technical point, is that because this paper cover uses such a large panel cross-section data, so in addition to control the year and industry, and maybe empirically, I'm not sure whether the statistician has done it, but probably can try to use fixed effect regression to see whether the regression model will support. So that will be end of my content. Again, this is a very interesting paper. It focuses on an issue that I think is not fully explored in Asia. Then I trust the paper, if published, will offer a wonderful platform for us to conduct research on family-owned business in across Asia and its corporate governance issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, could you respond to questions from?
Let me thank you very much for the wonderful comments and questions. And let me respond to you as far as I remember. And first, definition of the family farms. But either the founding family sends the top manager, either the president or chairman, and or founding family has substantial, not substantial, it's the founding family is still in the top 10 shareholders. So that is weakest threshold, lowest threshold for the shareholding in the family farm study in the world, because Japanese family farm is maybe the most dispersed ownership family farms, listed family farms. And different generation, second generation, third generation. That's a good question or suggestion. We have not yet studied on the difference between the second generation and third generation, but there are substantial number of the company with more than third generations in Japan. During our sample period, we picked 4 companies, and shows you that the case studies in my paper. And for example, the Mitsubishi Pencil, you may know it or not, they keep that family managers for 4 generations now. And the, complexity of family ownership, yes, it is. But the probably Japanese family ownership structure is not as complex as in Taiwan or Singapore. And of course, Japanese founding family use that, they call the family asset management company and something like that. But Hokuto Dazai, he is an expert of the family farm studies, and he hand corrected and try to confirm the actual family ownership in each family farms. So I believe it is quite accurate. And on the causation, yeah, it is always asked questions. And the well, I am just a user of the statistics. I'm not a good person to answer to your question, but I raised the same question to Hokuto Dazai, and he checked the causation as possible as he can. That's just the mostly I can respond. How about Tobin's Qs? Actually, we cannot find that no statistical significant effect on Tobin's Q. And why? Well, but that is our future question. And well, first and second decades of the lost decades. Actually, thank you for asking that. actually, in our previous paper, posted at SSRN 2016, you can read it. And at that version, we divide 3 eras. First, from 4 eras. 1962 to 85, that's a rapid economic growth era in Japan. And 86 to 92, that's a bubble age, bubble economic era in Japan. And third one is 93 to 2000, the first decades of the two lost decades. And the fourth is 2001 to 2010. And interestingly, during that the rapid economic growth era, there is no difference between family farms and non-family farms. No difference. But during the bubble age and also the first decade of the lost decades, 2 decades, show that family farm shows that the highest performance, relatively higher, more strongly higher performance on ROA against the ordinary listed farms. And maybe you are interested in the second decades of the lost decades, 01 to 10. It still shows that relatively higher ROA, but the star decreased 3 to 2. And so, what's the implications? Our study is a kind of, questions to the traditional Japanese corporate governance system. So the traditional Japanese corporate governance based on the company community norm and main bank system was probably successful, or at least did a good job during that economic growth era. In the growth era, Japanese system, traditional system, is doing good job. But after the growth stopped, the Japanese system, company community system, could not adapt to such a low growth era. So, so what does it mean that that second decades of the lost decades looks like decreasing that difference between that listed company and listed family company and listed non-family company? What does it mean? That is our future agenda. Maybe right now, again, to the no difference between them, because that the Japanese ordinary farms corporate governance improved for these 2-3 years. Right. Thank you very much.
So let me open the floor to raise questions and comments. So please raise your hands if you have any comments or questions. So Mr. Chen first.
Thank you very much for the very interesting, excellent presentation. I have a short question about definition. So you included family in the definition with the family firm. You included family ownership, like under 5% or something like that. So I was wondering whether you can still call them family firms if the family only owns less than 5%. So I was thinking that the regression result is more about whether a family member, founding member, or his family become a manager, and what happens to the performance of the Japanese company rather than the ownership itself of the family firm. So I was thinking to rebrand your title to the perspective of Japanese listed family firm from family firms to family heirs managers, So that's my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Shishido. Very interesting paper. I have one quick question. So I noticed that you show us that those founder-managed companies or heir-managed companies, they pay significantly more dividends. Why that's the case? Because that doesn't seem to be the case in U.S., for instance. And why they want to pay more dividends? I mean, I guess a broader sort of question is what's exactly the compensation sort of scheme for these managers vis-a-vis other sort of, non-heir managed or non-family firms, their compensation packages? Yeah, thank you.
Am I okay to speak? Okay. I would like to comment about the inheritance tax system in Asian countries because that's a major, significantly different point from the Europe or American style corporations. Usually the European corporations have the tax exemption on the share inheritance or some special treatment for that. But in Japan, we have prohibitively high tax rates and we have to pay it in cash. So usually by generations, those shareholdings is diminishing. And perhaps that's the common feature in Asian countries too. And if that occurs, then only the strong, very rich family remains, or the very profit corporations remain as the heir managing companies, then perhaps that might be the causation. Or families just only keeps their core company if they are very profitable. So I just wonder that it might be very interesting to see the inheritance tax system across the country. Thank you.
Thank you. This is changing the title. It's a good suggestion. Yes, we are focusing on the managing farms very intentionally. But just from the beginning, air managing farm, that reader would consider, what is it? And so we just used that very, popular naming of the listed family farms. But let us think about your suggestion. And founder managing farms and heir managing farms comparison. My understanding is that not only in Japan but also in most countries, the founder managing farms perform better than ordinary farms. It is not strange. By definition, founder of the listed family farm is a manager who started his business and let his business to be listed company during his life. He must be the good manager or charismatic manager. So during his era, they perform better than ordinary farm. That's not so strange. And so in Japan also, founder managing farms perform overwhelmingly better, not only in the ROA, ROE, and Tobin's Qs. No question. And your question, the inheritance tax. Yes. So maybe I may misleading you to consider that Japanese air managing farms, air manager has a lot of equity. Actually not. Actually not. Their mean is just 4%, just equivalent as a U.S. ordinary professional manager's ownership, right? And but relatively, it's 50 or in a mean 100 times more than the Japanese salaryman managers. So that is not, we are not pointed out that the Japanese family farms air manager has a lot of equity. But we pointed out the Japanese ordinary listed farm manager has too little equity incentive. And that, as maybe somebody asked me that the compensation structure of the air managing farm, not so differently. A compensation scheme itself is not so different between family farms and non-family farms. But even though that the very prohibitively high inheritance tax, the heir has opportunity to own much more equity position than ordinary salarymen. Yeah, so that's relative within Japan. Something else. Pardon?
Air managers, they also get quite a lot of cash in their compensation package, right?
No, no, really.
Not really. I mean, but the compensation, the cash part is comparable to non-air managed.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's seems, So that seems more interesting because initially maybe you say they need some liquidity, but anyway the big major or big part of the compensation comes from cash.
Yeah.
So liquidity may not be the reason why they pay more dividends.
For example, the Mr. Toyota, Akio Toyota, got a huge amount of dividends, cash. His cash compensation is more than $4 million or something. Yeah, it's quite high compensation among ordinary Japanese listed fund managers, but compared to U.S. Professional managers, that is rather very small, right?
Yes, I guess my question is not about how much cash they get. My question is why they pay so much dividends compared to other companies.
No. Okay. That is one interesting point. Whether the Japanese family farms pay more dividends than ordinary farms. Yeah, actually, one of our co-authors, I think that Saito, published a paper. Japanese family farms pay more dividends, not necessarily by the reasonable cause. And so that possibly has a kind of conflict of interest of the air manager on the dividend policy. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and I think it's time to conclude this session. So thank you very much for very excellent presents and commentators. Thank you very much.